The Good Vibrations podcast is made possible by sponsorship from the Phoenix Light Foundation. Visit thephoenixlightfoundation.co.nz for more information.
Hello and welcome to Good Vibrations. I'm Phyllis Brown. I'm talking to you from a beautiful, beautiful day here in New Zealand. And I'd like to thank everyone for their feedback on Mel Kime's show. Twin Flame, Soulmate, really interesting topic. Lots of people downloading the show because I think people really want to know, do they have a soulmate and have they met their twin flame? So wonderful news there, and I know that Mel's had some wonderful new clients contacting her. So great to hear and see that feedback from everyone out there listening. So today I'm going to just do a special show just with myself, talking about crystals and the healing power of crystals. And so my passion for crystals really started when I was a young child, and my grandfather always had 3 crystals sitting on his television, and there was an amethyst there, a black obsidian, and a piece of polished agate, and they just sat there, and they never moved anything. My grandfather absolutely hated dusting, so if you moved anything then you could see the dust marks, so everything had to be absolutely precise and left, never touched. But I would go and look at these crystals, and they just fascinated me with the depth of colour that was in the amethyst, the range of colour, the striations and the lines in the agate. They were just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I felt really blessed. I left home at the age of 16 to take up a job as a nanny, and my grandfather gave me these beautiful crystals as I left, as I went to see him for the very last time. He gave me these crystals and said, "You've always liked these crystals, they're yours." And that was really the start of my journey. And I'm in my mid-50s now, so it's been quite a long journey through just collecting crystals and being really intrigued by the quality or the vibration of what they were. It wasn't until I watched a programme actually, and it was about Lord and Lady Bath, and a very well-known couple here back in the UK, and they have this amazing house. And Lady Bath, I remember watching her, and she had rose quartz crystals, and she put them in the stables with her horses. And she put them up quite high in the window, obviously so the horse couldn't chew them or swallow them. And she talked about the healing vibration of these crystals for her horses. And that really got me hooked. I think from that point, I then started thinking, well, I've got these crystals, they're really random, they're all around my house. I'm not quite sure what they do. I'm going to start looking into what it is that they do bring into our lives and how we can enhance our lives. So one of the key things that's asked on the crystal healing course, both the basic course and the advanced crystal healing course, is, well, how do they support us? How do they help us? And the thing about crystal people, or stone people as they're called in shamanic terms, is that there's an intrinsic wisdom or a hidden wisdom inside the crystal itself. They are naturally formed. They have formed over millennia, hundreds of thousands of years, through volcanic action, heat, chemical responses and reactions, right conditions, and crystals can form. And some crystals are extremely rare. They're only found in particular countries. And other crystals are really common, so clear quartz is just found everywhere. But how do they support us? The key thing to remember about your crystals is that you need to really switch them on. Lots of people buy crystals, and lots of people that come on the crystal course, be them as a correspondence student or as a physical student, they'll quite often say, "Oh, I've got heaps of crystals, I know what I'm doing, I want to do your advanced course." And I'll go, "No, actually you need to do the basic course." Because one of the basic skills that we talk about in the crystal healing course is that you need to switch your crystals on. If you don't switch your crystals on, then you're not really activating the hidden wisdom that is latent inside that crystal. When you switch that crystal on, then the crystal intrinsically knows that you're asking it to reveal its hidden wisdom to you for that particular quality. So what that means is the likes of a crystal quartz, that's a jack of all trades. It can do anything and everything. You could switch that on and program it to heal a broken heart, help heal with a skin rash, disperse anger, detox the body. You can do anything. But if you were to switch on a rose quartz crystal and ask it to heal a broken heart, then it would go into all those soft levels. It would be quite a soft energy. And it would intrinsically know which part of the heart needs to be healed. And it would do that really gently and softly, also bringing in a sense of self-compassion and self-love. Because when we're grieving through a process of losing a job or losing a partner, losing a pet, then we're thinking of moving through that grief, going from that day-to-day stuff, and the rose quartz will help release all that hidden inner depths. So really, crystals, they can support you in any way, shape or form. It is how you switch them on and then how you program them. That's the really key thing to being really successful in helping crystals support you in any way and in any form, if you like. Lots of students will ask me, well, do they need to be supersized crystals? Do I need to have a giant crystal? Do they need to be raw? Do they need to be polished? So really, there's no rule of thumb. Obviously, on a crystal healing, you don't want anything that's a kilo, because you just can't put that onto someone's physical body. But, just a small pebble, about thumb size, if you like, no bigger than that, is absolutely ample. But if you're wanting a crystal to maybe cleanse your room and be in a room and just function as a crystal that just detoxes a room space, creates ambient energy, creates positivity, then maybe something that's a bit more fist-sized or a small geode would be quite good for that. So size does matter in terms of giving physical healings. They've got to be of a size that makes them easy and comfortable for the client. Raw or polished. To me, there is no difference. I think what you have to be aware of, there are some crystals that are very fragile and you can only get them in raw. So therefore, there's crystals like tourmaline are particularly difficult to polish. You would only really get polished tourmaline in the jewellery industry. Again, very few mines have tourmaline in them. So raw tourmaline is just absolutely fine. It's not toxic. It won't have an adverse effect. Rose quartz raw, rose quartz polished, it's the same rose quartz. It really doesn't matter which one you use. But things like malachite can be quite toxic. So you would need to be really aware of that. Personally, I would only use polished malachite on the body. So there's no chance of any raw material escaping in through the skin, especially if you're using a base material. If you're giving a massage with someone and you're going to put a piece of malachite on top of the oils, that would intrinsically start to pull some of the raw material down. So really think about what it is that you're doing with the crystals first. Size doesn't necessarily matter for crystal healing. Polished or raw doesn't really matter, but there are one or two crystals like sulfur. You only get that in raw. I wouldn't put that on the body. If it's particularly good for eczema and psoriasis. So I would maybe use mica. Mica is a raw crystal. It's quite flaky, but it's particularly good for skin rashes and psoriasis. So there are alternatives out there that are as equally effective and safe to use without you having to worry about having a crystal kit that's full of toxic crystals that we can't use. So if in doubt, I would say use a polished crystal. And I think one of the things that really comes through for me in terms of my crystal students, they get a set, so the students that come in the physical class, they get a set of 12 crystals, and it's a basic set. And from that point, they begin to understand which crystals are good for physical healing, which ones are good for emotional, which ones are good for spiritual. And they then begin to understand that we as vibrational beings, we have many layers to our personality. So our personality has that physical, emotional, mental and spiritual aspect through our auric field. And I feel that there's a real sense that that's what crystal healing does. Crystal healing supports our auric field, and it lies in our auric field. And as we go through our day-to-day things, our issues and our processes, we then start to pull the crystal healing down into the physical body. We start to bring about a real sense of connection to what that crystal has to offer. A really good starting point, which for myself, I suppose my journey started, life begins at 40, so 15 years ago. I started collecting my crystals, and then I opened a crystal shop, and it was called Crystal Clear Gifts, and it was in a small seaside town on the west coast of Scotland called Largs, just outside Glasgow. And in that shop, I sort of hedged my bets. I knew crystals would be popular, but I got some gifts in as well. Eventually, it just became one massive crystal shop, really. But one of the tools that I would use in the shop is the Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. The Crystal Bible is a really fundamental directory, and even if you just purchase the Crystal Bible #1, I think she's got 3 or 4 of them out now, it will give you the healing qualities of the more popular crystals, if you like. It will give you that knowing and understanding of how to use a crystal and the effect. So in the Crystal Bible, she gives you the metaphysical, which is the spiritual healing, the physical healing, the mental, the psychological, that it's called, and the emotional healing. So every single crystal that she has in that book, it covers the 4 components. And then she'll tell you where to put that on the body. So if you want to build up an understanding of crystals, how to use crystals and how they affect the 4 major layers of the auric field, then to me, there's nothing that's quite like that out there. Judy Hall, well, I've been selling crystals and working with crystals for 15, 16, maybe 17 years now. And you know, the Crystal Bible was out then. So the book might be a 20-year-old book, but it is still a really, really good almanac, if you like, a reference book that really helps you gain an understanding. I think for myself, when I went and did my certificate in healing and my diploma in crystal healing back in the UK in 2004, 2005, crystal healing was still perceived as a bit of an oddity. It wasn't really seen in the realms of a complementary therapy. I also at that point in time did my Reiki Master training as well, so I did all my attunements in 2004 through to 2006, and again Reiki wasn't really referenced as a healing modality, whereas, you know, 15, 16 years or 18 years down the line now, we are, you know, we're seeing these tools as something that we do understand and we can help ourselves. I think one of the key things that comes out for me with crystals is that you never stop learning. There's always new crystals being found. Or there's always crystals that are coming to the fore in terms of popularity that then become the in thing. And when I think back if I talk about Moldavite just for a moment. So Moldavite was a meteor strike, and so when meteors hit the earth and they do it with such ferocity and heat, earth it turns into glass. So these are known as tektites. So any volcanic activity or meteorite activity, when they hit the earth and they change the composition of the earth around it and they turn the earth into glass, if we think about sand, is just heated up and it becomes glass. So tektites are a byproduct of these physical activities, both on earth or happening to earth through a meteor. So Moldavite comes from the region of Moldova, and this meteor strike landed in the Russian boundaries, and the earth around there turned into this amazing green colour. Actually, it's beautiful. It can be quite translucent. It's really lovely. Now, when I started my shop 17 years ago, or however long it was, you could get Moldavite incense sticks and Moldavite bath salts. Moldavite, you had to buy it by the gram because it only comes in small pieces. It was rare back then. And so it was really expensive. You had to buy it by the gram. Now, of course, it's being replicated. So if anything's of a dark green, it may not necessarily be Moldavite because it is a glass-like looking crystal. And it's quite rare. It's quite rare to be able to buy raw Moldavite now. It's mainly used in jewellery. It's a really high transformational stone. It's not a stone for everyone. Moldavite can send people off planet quite quickly. People find it quite ungrounding. And I think that's because it's not of this earth. The impact and the vibration of the meteor that struck in that region is obviously of a different vibration to planet Earth's vibration, if you like. So I think that in an understanding crystals and gaining an understanding of crystals, it's a really learned skill. It's one of the things that in the class, I'm just finishing an advanced crystal course today actually with some students. And one of the things in their essay that they talk about is, the knowledge and the wisdom of crystals. But in saying that, I've been obsessed with crystals since I was 4. I've started collecting crystals since I was 16, and as I say, I'm in my mid-50s now. So for me, it was always that quest to, well, what does this crystal do, and why does it do it, and how can it support me? And I program my crystals every day. So when I wear a beautiful pendant, that pendant is programmed to support me during that day, to help me to really get to grips with what that day holds for me. And at the moment I am actually wearing a piece of Moldavite. So I'm enjoying not being here and being in my lovely meditative space that just helps me pull together a couple of new courses that I'm developing. So for me, I would look at, well, what does my headspace need to be in? Do I need to go into channel mode? So I've got 2 new courses coming up. One will be with Lord Thoth and the Atlantean and Lemurian times. And another one is a very special weekend in a lovely place called Akaroa here in just outside Christchurch. And we're going to be looking at self-empowerment and releasing childhood echoes, but working with the angels. So that's, I just feel that I need that head space, if you like, that space where I can go into a meditative space and bring forward my particular thoughts and processes that will guide me to creating those products. So with crystals, there's no limit to what you can program a crystal for or to. There's no limit to what you can do with your crystals. They are good for animals. You can't really place a crystal on an animal. It is too powerful for their auric fields. What you can do is soak a crystal overnight or place it in a glass and place the glass in a bowl of water and then give your animal that water or place it underneath their bed if they have a particular bed or a sleeping crate that they're in. For babies, absolutely fantastic, but again, underneath the mattress or up high where obviously there's no risk to the child finding it and then thinking it's a beautiful bonbon or lolly that they might want to see how it tastes. I think particularly with people who are facing their end of life process, there are some really good crystals. So rose quartz helps people transition or come to terms with that aspect of their life. Kunzite is the best crystal for that, helping people on that soul process of understanding what their journey has been and leaving fear behind, leaving mortal fear behind, so that as they transition from being a physical being to a non-physical being, then they know that on a soul level they're going to be in a safe place or a safer place or a better place. And I think for anyone that's really interested, I talk about connecting with crystals, me having a vast knowledge of crystals. Quite a few of my students will come on board and they don't really have an understanding. They just feel really drawn. I suppose a little bit like me when I was younger, bowls of crystals around the house and not really knowing what to do with them. And that tends to be a real driver for them wanting to explore and to learn a bit more about what crystals can do. I know for myself, it's seen as a bit woo. And when we moved to New Zealand, we had 51 boxes and like 49 of them were filled with crystals. I didn't bring any furniture or clothes. We just had the clothes on our back. Wasn't interested in pots and pans, sold all that off. But my crystals, actually, yes, I did bring all my crystals over here. And I've had several crystal retail outlets, from a few shelves in my workroom to actually having a crystal shop on Madras Street here in Christchurch. So, I can't really not get away from having crystals in my life. I think for me, it is my passion. I'm really passionate about what crystals can do for me. So the key thing that people ask about is, so how can people learn about crystals? For myself, I went to the Holistic Healing Association back in the UK, and that's where I got my certification from. I know in the UK you can go and do a VCTC, so it's a vocational training certificate in crystal healing. Again, there are crystal associations that run crystal healings. And for myself, for the Phoenix Light Academy, we have an ICCT accredited course. So the course has been accredited through the International Institute of Complementary Therapies. And so there is the basic crystal course, and then there is the advanced crystal healing diploma. The crystal course, whether it be online or physical, is the same course. It's obviously for online students broken down into modules, and for the physical students, we go through the manual week by week, lesson by lesson, building up that knowledge. The online students, they have 4 really instructional videos of myself demonstrating how to give a crystal healing, how to use the tools. I talk about the crystal healing kit itself, the 12 stones. And we talk about the layouts. So in both the crystal certificate course and in the advanced course, you've got some really, really lovely usable, efficient and functional crystal healing grids. So from alleviating depression to memory and concentration to aligning the chakras, activating the higher chakras, sexual recharge. There's 12 healing grids in the crystal course, and we have advanced healing of giving healings in a chair. We've got 2 really big healing configurations for energizing the body and releasing grief. So there's help there. The help is there through the manual, through the module. And I have to say that the crystal healing course it's one of my older products. It's one of my most popular products. It's been on the go for the last 12 years. And people have gone on to create a really lovely healing practice with it, or they add it to their Reiki practice or their massage practice, cranial sacral, whatever modality that they're in. They find that the crystals, they add that to what they're doing, and that then helps amplify the healing tools that they already have. And for some people, it's the first start on their building their toolkit, building their toolbox, so that when they want to create a healing practice of their own, they've got all that knowledge and that wisdom there. So you can pop online either through phyllisbrown.co.nz, and you can click on to the online academy from there. Or you can go on to the phoenixlightfoundation.co.nz, and the information is there as well. So there's plenty of ways of accessing the information, but I will put a link up on our Facebook page and on our Instagram to those two ways of getting in and finding a way to accessing your own knowledge and wisdom. I know for the online students, the feedback from them is just amazing. They thoroughly enjoy it, and they're a lovely group of students. We've got 20 students online at the moment going through their crystal healing course, and I've got one student who's just graduated, an online student, Rob. He's just graduated today, so he's all excited, looking forward to the advanced course. And I think that's the thing. I think once you know how to use your crystals, actually your passion just grows and you'll just become obsessed. And you too will have 40 boxes of crystals to shift when you're moving home or doing your healing rooms. It's just amazing. So I'm joined in the studio today with Nathan, who's here, doing all the technical things. So is there anything you want to add to the program or the process?
I guess the question that jumped out to me was you spoke about crystals that might have some toxic effects in some form or another. But are there crystals that are more reactive than others? We're looking at crystals in their base forms, like in elemental forms, like sodium and lithium, are reactive to water. Are there crystals that maybe people should be aware of that you don't put in water or get covered in, crystals that might react in certain ways?
There are actually. The rule of thumb is that anything that ends in ITE or schist form crystals, so anything that ends in ITE has a process where it might dissolve in water. You've got schist form crystals, so those are crystals that are very, very fine layers of crystal that just grow on one on top of the other. So lepidolite would be one, kyanite, definitely can't put that in water. You've got Icelandic spar, you can't really put that in water either. So you've got to be really careful when it comes to cleansing your crystal. People, they feel they've got to rub them in salt or put them in a bath of water. The water will start to dissolve or erode the polished surface. It could also just disintegrate once the water gets in and it starts to force its way through those very, very fine layers. The best way for cleansing crystals really is in moonlight, if possible. So on a rising moon, absolutely, you're really charging them up. Going out on a full moon is just awesome. And then if you put them out on a waning moon, then you're decreasing that energy around them. Putting them into earth, I don't tend to bury my crystals in earth because I tend to lose them then. I have buried crystals. There's a house in West Kilbride in Scotland where they'll find huge chunks of rose quartz in that garden because I go to find them. I think I know where I've put them, and I go to find them and they're just not there. But if you've got a plant pot, let's say, then absolutely you could just pop your crystals on top of the soil on the plant pot. I wouldn't put them in salt. It's far too abrasive and far too disruptive. But just a quick wash, not soaking them in water, but just a quick rinse and then put them over, dry them off. If you are Reiki attuned, and absolutely, shokore, seihake shokore, do a half Reiki sandwich on them. You're going to put the power of the universe there that will then deeply balance any hidden emotion within the crystal, and then you cleanse it with the power of the universe. So that's a half Reiki sandwich. So just as a reminder for our Reiki practitioners out there, so that's a shokore, seihake, and a shokore. You can smudge them. Sage incense, sage stick, and you can also put them in a singing bowl. And then tap the singing bowl. You can wind the singing bowl up to really, really get that stagnant energy out of a crystal, and you'll hear the singing bowl wind up, and then you'll hear the singing bowl wind down. But you can just pop your crystals in a singing bowl, just tap it a few times and just let the vibration come through. Or you can use Tibetan bells. So sound is really good, water is okay, moon is excellent, Reiki is fantastic, and saging is wonderful and soft and smooth. But there are some crystals that just don't need cleansed. So kyanite, you don't need to cleanse that at all. It is a self-cleansing crystal all of the time. So it's like a smudge stick. So if you don't have sage, then take a piece of kyanite and just waft it around your crystals, and it will pick up all of the stagnant energy, negative energy, and any electromagnetic smog off of the crystal. Yeah, and cleanse it that way.
Okay. Are there any crystals to be aware of that may have radioactive properties, or any sort of, in terms of not maybe chemically toxic, but other forms of toxic elements?
Yeah. So when we think of healing qualities, if we look at smoky quartz, so smoky quartz is naturally irradiated in the earth, and that's why it has that smoky quality. Now, it's not like radon. So I come from Aberdeen, which is made of granite, and it has a smog of radon gas. The granite gives off radon gas all of the time. No. So smoky quartz is not like that. You're not going to get radioactive poisoning or anything. But what it is really good for are for clients or people that you may know who are about to go through radiation therapy, or who have come out of radiation therapy. Because smoky quartz is naturally irradiated in the earth, it helps alleviate the symptoms of radiation treatment. It won't debunk it or derail it or deplete the radiation treatment in any way, but it's that physical effect that it has on your body. It will help take those symptoms away, and not do it quite softly and quite naturally. So a piece of smoky quartz in someone's hand, or a bracelet, or a smoky quartz pendant is just fantastic for that kind of thing. Yeah.
And is there any sort of crystals that are really good for, you mentioned electromagnetism.
Yeah.
Obviously with the amount of technology we use now.
Yep, it's everywhere.
We're surrounded by it at the moment.
Yes.
We're constantly living with technology.
Yeah.
Is there crystals that are good for electromagnetism?
Yeah.
And maybe reducing its effect on you?
Yeah, absolutely. So on your telephone, people will strap or glue pieces of blue sodalite onto the telephone. It helps with that kind of electromagnetic static energy. Clear quartz is the best. If on your desk, if you have just a small, again, it doesn't need to be huge. You're not looking for a huge boulder. So just a small pebble would be fine. Next to your computer, that would absolutely help with electromagnetic smog, because it does affect us. We get, that 3:30itis sometimes, I think, is because we've been sitting at a computer for, from 8 in the morning till, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and our bodies do get depleted, they get tired. So those would be the best two that I would say for that sort of support for your own wellness. Cool. Yep. Anything else?
No, I think that's me.
So what I thought I would do just before we wrap the show up, a good starting point for people. So I'm going to give you a couple of feng shui places within your home. just to have a play, So I want you to think about, dear listener, standing outside your house and just looking at the front door. Even though you come in the back door or you come through the garage door, you need to actually go for feng shui. Everything comes through the front door. For those of you that are looking for love, for those of you who are looking for friendships or personal relationships, a rose quartz and the front window of the first room to the right hand side of the house will bring love into your life, be it friendships, be it animal love, be it family love, or be it a romantic relationship. So from a feng shui perspective, a rose quartz at the front window of the first room on the right hand side as you come in from the front door. Yep. So we're all standing out. So dear listener, I'm hoping you're all with me. You're all outside your house and you're going, oh, yep, so that's my bedroom, even it's the bathroom, whatever it is, that's the room where the rose quartz goes. So we're still outside our house, dear listener. You're still outside, and we want to have a house of wellness and well physical healing. So I want you to picture yourself going in through your front door, and it's the far right hand corner. So the room, it could even be a cupboard, but it needs to go into the actual corner of that room. It could be, for us, it's our office is the far right hand room with the corner. Okay, so as we travel down through our hall, through our living room, everywhere we go, far right hand side is the back. Nathan's just figured that out. He's just done his hand motions and his dyslexic he's got there. So you're bringing the chi. Remember, feng shui is about the flow of energy into your home. So you're bringing physical wellness through every aspect of your home, and it's amplified on that corner. And here's the money one, okay? Here's the money shot, guys. This is the one that everybody asks about, the money crystals. So let's all just imagine ourselves, once again, dear listener, we're outside the front door, and you're looking at your front door, and you want to place a piece of citrine in the far left-hand side corner of your home, regardless of what that is. If it's a wardrobe, if it's a cupboard, if it's the bathroom, wherever it happens to be, that's where you put your citrine. And again, on that feng shui and chi, you're pulling the energy of the flow of money through your house. You want everyone in your house to be financially secure or abundant or proficient, financially educated. And you can also put a piece of citrine in your purse, or your wallet, so that will also help with your abundance. So if that's what you take away, if that's a good starting point for you, then that would be my way of setting up a grid around your house so that you've got health, wealth and love coming into your home as easy as. And remember to just ask the crystal to switch on for that particular function. So just hold the crystal and go, I want you to switch on rose quartz for love. I want you to switch on clear quartz for health, and I want you to switch on citrine for my financial abundance and prosperity. So I think we've kind of walked through crystals and how they can help us. I think Nathan's given me the nod there. Next week, we have Maria Gold coming in, and she's a really inspirational lady. She has had her fair share of ups and downs in life's roller coaster ride. But her unique talent for me is following her intuition, creating the most amazing networking organisation here in Christchurch through simply listening to her guides, feeling guided, listening to what they're saying, one foot in front of the other. She's absolutely passionate. Maria Gold will be with us, and we hope to see you in the next time here at Good Vibrations, and bye for now.
This podcast was brought to you by the Phoenix Light Foundation. For personal development courses, visit thephoenixlifefoundation.co.nz and use the code PHOENIX50 for 50% off all courses.